What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Vinny's Corner this week with my special guest host, Cove, again. Just wanted to say hello to everybody. Cove, how you doing today, brother?
Pretty good.
All right. And guys, welcome to the show. As you know, we're on the We Like Sports Network, and we're going to just do a quick little intro here.
Purdue as Mitchell looks for an answer.
Ooh, pure, nothing but net.
Garland to the basket, stole the inbound pass. He lays it in.
Basketball down there.
Very high percentage shot for him from that spot. Merrill for three. Tristan Thompson on the floor. The three, that's short. Hard rebound, ricochets out to Merrill for three again.
For the We Like Sports Show, tune in and see the latest the crew has to say regarding the latest sports topics nationally and locally. Make sure to check out our website as well, WeLikeSportsPC.com. Subscribe on all platforms, including podcast platforms, YouTube, TikTok, and much more. And be sure to follow us on X at We Like Sports PC.
Started with Anderson and Ramirez.
He said, let's go, right? Yeah, I'm sure he wants the game to start, but they won't let it. And rightfully so.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Vinny's Corner. Again, this is my co-host, Cove, here. What's going on, brother?
Not much.
All right, so, guys, as you know, it's that time of year. October is fast approaching, and that means it's time for playoff postseason baseball. So today we wanted to kind of jump right in, and we want to just talk a little bit about what we think might be some of the things happening, who our wild card teams look like, who do we think MVPs might be, who's going to take home those Cy Youngs in each respective league, the American and the National League. And so we do, as usual, kind of do the format here as we have been lately with a few different questions that both of us will kind of give our responses to and let you guys know what we're thinking. So let's jump right in. So, Cove, what do you think? We got the NL card game first. Which two teams do you think are going to end up in that NL wildcard game?
Jesus. Well, we got the Padres holding out. You got the Mets and the Diamondbacks. Now, the Braves are going to try to sneak in. But with their injuries, I don't know if they can do it, though. I really don't.
They've looked kind of like a lame duck as of recent.
They've had four major guys go out this year, and they're still in the hunt for playoffs.
And listen, of course, they did great when they lost one guy a couple of years ago, but four is a lot more, right? Yeah. That's a pretty tough situation. So what do you think? If you had to call it today, that's what you think the wild card game would look like?
Well, you got Padres, Mets, Diamondbacks. With both the Mets and the Diamondbacks have a 1-2 game lead on them, so it's gonna, if it comes down to the Braves coming in, it's gonna be a 1-game playoff. There's no way the Braves are gonna come in and knock somebody out without a 1-game playoff.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that's the only way to see it. I just want to see the Mets and the Padres in a series. That's what I want to see. I just think they've been playing a lot of great baseball recently. Coming out of the summer, they're two of the strongest teams, if not the best of the National League, really. So for me, it would be really exciting to kind of see that matchup. That's what would have me the most excited.
Yeah.
And of course, now what do you think about the AL side of things?
Just 1 second here. I'm going to see something. I think it's. Oh, that was a year ago. I thought that was something recently. Okay, so we got Tigers, KC, Minnesota, and Seattle are all both one game out. That's going to be the same thing as I said there.
I'm just going to grab my daughter. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. Hey, girl. You want to come hang out with Daddy? Hey. Whoa. Sorry for the quick distraction. Guys, as you know, on Tuesday afternoons, I do have my daughter, Sophina, with me. So she just woke up from a little nap there. All right, so let's jump back in. So in the AL, the three teams that you think right now, we got Tigers, Mariners, Kansas City, Minnesota.
Minnesota's the next. Now, here's what's interesting. Next 3 games, you got Minnesota against Miami, while Seattle's got Houston. So if Seattle cannot get past Houston, because I'm pretty sure Minnesota can get past Miami. You know, Miami's the 3rd worst team, right? So Minnesota's got a better chance on the next 3 games to solidify the difference between those 2 teams. But KC and Detroit could fall out. So it's going to come down to these 4 teams. And there is going to be a 1-game playoff. There's no way with these 4 teams, 6 games out, that there's not going to be a 1-game playoff.
I agree with that. I think the Tigers are in there outright. Realistically, I think the playoff ends up between KC and the Mariners. I think Minnesota is that next team that makes it in there, and then I see that being the playoff. But you're right. If the Mariners can't get past the Astros, then stick a fork in them.
Because you got to remember the Tigers get the White Sox in the last 3, so
they should be okay.
Yeah, it should be okay. If one of these 4 teams had the White Sox in the last 3, we would say Seattle had White Sox, then Seattle could have a chance because everybody gets the White Sox is guaranteed a playoff.
Well, at this point, right? If you're the White Sox, now the more losses, the more historic you are, right? So you might as well just take these L's.
Well, it only takes 1 L. It only takes 1 L in the next 5 to be historically bad.
That is true. That is true. I mean, they're
sitting on 120 right now. So they've already have historically done worse than anybody else in modern baseball.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, right? When was the last time this happened? 1962, was it?
No, right? No. That was the 120 loss. The 2016 Tigers had the 119.
Close.
So it was very sooner, but no one has done historically bad than the Cleveland Spiders of 1899 with 134 losses in a 154 season.
The Cleveland Spiders.
Yeah, 1899. 2 years
before the MLB fact right there.
Before the MLB became a league, the Cleveland Spiders had 134 losses.
Now, let me ask you a question. Now that you brought this up, does that organization, is the Cleveland Spiders the same organization as the modern day Cleveland?
I can double check that, but I don't believe so. I think it's just one of those. They existed, then they didn't exist, then they just got a franchise back.
That'd be interesting to know. All right.
I don't think they are. I really don't think they are. Because there has been teams like the Washington Senators who are really nobody. Like, they used to have the Senators, but then they just their whole thing is just that's why they thought, what happened to them, right? And they just kind of fell apart, and that's it. And it's just Washington got another franchise 80 years later.
80 years later.
Yeah.
Baseball is one of those forever sports, though. So, it's only a matter of time, I guess. How you doing, little girl?
They are. They are.
They are the same organization? Wow.
Because when they dropped the name, fans wanted them to bring back the Spiders name.
Interesting. And so now, do they have the Cleveland Spiders as a AAA or anything like that?
No.
That would be interesting. But that's pretty cool. Like, that's an old organization, man. 125 years at least.
No, that's young.
I guess in baseball, some of these organizations are pretty old.
Do you know who the oldest is?
I should, but I don't.
I believe it's the Reds.
The
It's the Reds or the Braves?
The Reds or the Braves? How you doing, girl? You good?
They're sitting at 130. Yeah, it's the Atlanta Braves. They were founded in 1871.
You know, baseball, it's kind of crazy because, like, right, so it's always been called America's pastime, right? But, you know, by the numbers, I mean, it's just a plain and simple fact. The most popular sport in our country is now the National Football League, American football. They generate a lot more revenue and they have more viewership, you know, so the numbers kind of speak for itself, but I think it'll always be America's pastime, right? Because it's just so, it's like ingrained in American culture, baseball, you know?
Here's a crazy one just to add to it. Do you know the Marlins have changed their logo more times than anybody else in the entire league, and they're the third youngest team in the MLB?
You know, I don't get this idea sometimes. Like, I look at, like, so, you know, in the NBA, a lot of, you know, teams are very frequent, you know, every few years changing their logos. I kind of love that about the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls logo has been the same since their inception, you know, never changed. When you look at teams like the Yankees, very minimal change to logos, you know. I just don't get the point in rebranding like that. Like, especially when you're that new of an organization, you know.
Well, they claim the Yankees have never changed either. They claimed it. The uniforms changed, but the logo has never changed.
It's just like the logo. It's like the logo now to 100 years ago. It's just more modern.
Yeah,
but it's just essentially it's the same NY, but like you know, now it's not hand sewn. Now it's done by a machine, so it just looks better. You know what I mean? That it's one of those kind of things. Yeah. But you know, the Yankees also have the alternate logo. You know, with the hat and the baseball with the baseball bat. But that's not the true Yankees logo. So, and so just kind of moving along here. What are we thinking now? Well, we got a couple of questions, right? So the next part we wanted to look at is World Series matchups, right? And looking at possible showdown between, you know, league MVPs. First, who do you think is going to the World Series this year in the NL and the AL?
I'm going to say Philly.
Philly I agree with Philly for the National League. And what do you think about the American League?
Oh man, let's see. I know everybody wants Yankees, but Yankees have a lovely history of winning one championship and going 13 years before winning another one. So it has been 13 years. So I can't see that. Ironically, I'm gonna say this is I feel like I want Phillies. But for some reason, I feel like it's going to be an LA versus Houston rematch. Only reason why I'm saying this is because I want a clean slate. Because they talk about, you know, the trash cans and all that crap. Houston wants to play LA. LA's favored to get in there. Houston wants to win a championship where they don't get accused of cheating. They want to clean the slate.
That's fair. I can see exactly.
But if I'm going to say what I think, Cleveland and I think Philly is where I think it's going to go.
So I think Cleveland is the obvious choice for strength of bullpen and pitching. Their rotation, you know, they do have the strongest, I think. Philly just seems like a natural choice. They've just looked so solid, such a complete team all season. I'm going to throw a curveball, even as a Yankees fan. I did pick Philly and the Yankees as my teams, but I'm just the way that I'm watching these Tigers play baseball in the recent weeks. I could fully see the Tigers getting a wild card and running it straight through to the World Series, and I wouldn't be mad at that at all. You know, I think it's totally possible, and I think they've got the firepower to do it on that team right now. and obviously, it depends on how many times they can put a guy like Skubal out there. But, the team is good, and they're only resurging now at the end of the year, at the end of the season when they need to be. So I can totally see them running straight through. But
now, there is one good fan theory that comes out of Cleveland. They made a major adjustment to their stadium that they didn't think would actually help them out. But once they took out this section of their stadium, it caused a wind tunnel, and they've been hitting harder and faster by taking this section out. So a lot of fans think because they took out a huge box area of that, it causes wind tunnel. So it's making balls go farther and deeper in that on the right side. So fans think that if they didn't do that, we wouldn't be talking about Cleveland. But
listen, there's a little bit of conspiracy theory in that. I like it, I'm all for the theories. Again,
just
to
because
me,
there's been more home runs, more everything. It's the stats have just staggered up when they're home, hitting out in right field.
And I can see why they would say that. But I do think just in general, though, that team was already built for the playoffs, realistically. I think they're one of the few teams that is legitimately built for the playoffs. I think whoever plays them in any round of the playoffs is going to have a very difficult time. I think that every series Cleveland's in is going to go to the maximum amount of games. I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough for people in the AL to compete with them. But again, as a Yankees fan, I don't know. Maybe it's our time. Maybe we're ready to go back. Yeah. I hope so.
Well,
listen,
if the Guardians make it, and I actually have a jersey, I've made a fan jersey. It was because it's not real, but I actually have a Pedro Serrano jersey because I'm a huge fan of the Major League movie.
The movie's the best.
Yes. I got the hair, so.
Yo, that's amazing. But now, right? So I think for baseball, and I don't know if the MLB has reached out to the NFL scriptwriters yet, but there's also the possibility of the AL MVP being Aaron Judge, the NL MVP being Shohei Ohtani, and the MVPs leading their teams to a World Series. And we see LA versus New York. It would be huge for baseball. I think it would be great for international baseball, not just American baseball, where like Detroit or Cleveland going in there, it's huge for like American baseball, But I think that if the MLB had its choice, it would be the Yankees against the Dodgers 100%. What do you think?
Oh, guaranteed. But the thing about the NL, oh my God, and you'll probably agree with me on this one. Shohei has owned this for like almost all season. It was kind of given that he was going to get this NL MVP.
Listen, I don't remember the last time I saw a batter go 6 for 6. First of all, the average batter doesn't get up 6 times in a game. They get up 4 times in a game, maybe 3. 6 is a lot, right? Yeah. That's, so I'm not used to that. I almost felt like they dialed up the NFL scriptwriters for that game just because they wanted to get what they wanted.
Oh my God. I was sitting there. I wasn't really watching the game because he was just so close to the 50-50. I was like, all right. I was out doing some stuff. I come back. I look at 20-4. I'm like, what happened to this game? And then
it looked like a football score.
I'm like, and then I watched Shohei going, what? No. I've had to watch the highlight multiple times because I've never seen this done.
Dude, I had my boys from Philly, because, I'm a Northeast guy originally. I had my boys from Philly and New Jersey calling me up, and they're going, listen, you need to write an article about this Shohei guy and how it's bullshit. They go, I don't believe any of this. They said, this guy, he's a total BS job. And they obviously they're just hating. But, a lot of fans that aren't on his side and don't, buy into the hype feel like if he was an American guy, right? If it wasn't about expanding baseball and the international markets and how much money this brings in, that he would be right there with Pete Rose. But instead, this guy's going to go into the Hall of Fame and he's going to be the 50-50. He's going to be an absolute legend. You know what I mean? And it seems too perfect. That's all. You know, I don't like it. I don't buy it. I don't think he's going to win a World Series this season. I don't think he's going to win a World Series with the Dodgers at all.
No,
let me say that.
Have you heard about the Shohei documentary?
Is this recent?
Yeah.
I have not.
Oh, once you watch it, you'll look at this guy way differently.
Am I going to like him after it?
So, well, I just like my smokes, right? Like, this is the thing. He has a thing that from when he was 8 years old. It's all written in Japanese. But he had scripted everything he's done to this day when he was 8 years old. He's dedicated his life to doing exactly what he's doing. And I've never seen someone this focused on a dream in my entire life.
So, you know, if you speak to some of the most successful people in the world, outside of sports, inside of sports, you know, of course, personal belief is a huge part of it, but writing it down. People will tell you when you want to hit goals in life, write it down, read it, write it every day. Tell yourself it's going to happen until it happens, you know? And so I respect that a lot. You know, I do. I'm still a hater, you know, I'm a New York Yankees fan and I'm a New York guy. I'm going to hate this guy until he's out of the league. And that's that. But, you know, I can't knock him. You know what I mean? It would be great to see him still. The whole DH thing, like he's not playing a full game now. We get that whole argument and all this. I wish he was, but you know, 2 Tommy John surgeries already. What are you going to do? You know, if he tries again, he's gonna end up going out. You know, it's just not worth it. Especially now when he's this kind of an offensive juggernaut.
He went like this during an interview, and that scar is prominent right there. Like
wicked,
nasty scar.
Wicked. I mean, well, think about it. Have you ever cut yourself somewhere and then cut yourself in the same spot again? Doesn't heal very well.
No, I know, but he was just like this. He was just naturally like this, and I'm like, I just looked at that scar. I was like, wow, like
awful.
That what he's doing. Everybody's going PD. It's like no. I get that argument because of what he's doing. No one's gonna do what he's gonna do for years to come, right? But the thing is like I said, after watching that documentary and how dedicated he was and how he pushed himself to every brink of insanity to be the player he is, I have a lot of respect as a player that he didn't go down the wrong path other than the supposed, you know, scandal. But other than that, this guy has scripted his entire life to be exactly where he wanted to be. And it's not like he asked for $700 million. They came chasing him with that money. Anybody would not want to turn that down.
Of course. And here's the thing, you know, everyone is very quick now to be like performance enhancing drugs in every sport and anything. First of all, the human body is a crazy thing. And some of the athletic performances that we've seen in even recent history, humans can do crazy things. But with the advancements in sports medicine, since you and I were in like high school, in middle school, it's a different thing. You know, 50 years ago, say like NFL, a player wasn't playing 20 years in the NFL. Impossible. Maybe 8 years, maybe 9. 20, unheard of. Modern sports medicine is a different thing. So you have guys like LeBron who are almost 40 who ball like they're 23. You got guys like Tom Brady who are 42, 43 who can still ball with a bunch of 26, 27-year-olds. It's sports medicine, you know, and the will of, and like in Shohei's case, the will of man.
Yeah.
When you're that dedicated and you've made that up in your mind, I'm going to achieve this. What was that, Sophie? Sophie wanted to say
the only other person that I would love to see under a microscope, and I don't know if you know him, but Jaromir Jagr. That guy,
Yarmir.
he has to be studied.
He's still playing professional hockey. He's played professional hockey for 3 less years than I've been alive.
Yes.
He's been playing professional hockey since the 80s.
37 years he's been playing professional hockey.
Dude.
Dude's got to be studied.
Dude, I was telling somebody this. I said, imagine being a professional athlete since the fucking 80s. What? What are you? And he just scored his first goal of the season a couple days ago. Like, mind blowing.
To own the second most total points by a player ever. But talk about craziness. He's still 1,000 points away from Gretzky and played 17 more years than Gretzky.
I don't think so Gretzky, someone may break the scoring, right? Half of it. But no one's ever going to break Gretzky's record. I just don't that's the best record in sports to me.
You're telling me a guy who's played 30
the great one,
and he still can't touch Gretzky's total point record by 1,000 points?
When you see those numbers, it's not even if you took somebody who never a younger guy, say somebody who's born in the 2000s. Yeah. And they have their recency bias and they don't even know who Wayne Gretzky is. If you showed them his numbers, they might think you were lying. They'd be like, there's no way. I've been watching hockey for 20 years. No one's ever come close to that. Not even possible. But the great one is the great one for a reason. He's just a whole different thing, And it's kind of amazing. You know what I mean? And so
his I'll give you one stat. I looked it up. It's 142 points. 142 points per season for 20 years straight to try and tie Gretzky.
And if any of you guys out there that are listening, if you're an NHL fan, you probably realize how ridiculous it is to not just have a 142-point season, but to do it repeatedly and consecutively. There's nobody in hockey right now who could do that 5 years in a row.
No.
Let alone 20.
That's 20.
That's just a whole different thing. It's the only way you can say it. It's a whole different animal.
The fact that it was in the 80s to where he got majority of his points. One of the toughest part of the NHL's history that when we grow up in, where guys were bleeding on the ice, and Gretzky still was able to perform.
Dude, hockey, you know what? And that's actually a great sidebar, because we're in hockey preseason right now. We're just a few weeks out of regular season hockey, and I can't wait. Hockey's always exciting. It's amazing how long hockey season goes, too.
Yeah. Oh, the one funny thing I saw last night, the Utah Hockey Club, their first goal ever was when they scored on themselves.
That is wild. They still haven't put a name out?
No, they're not. They got a 1 year bias to be able to come out with the logo and the name. Yeah. So they're going to be Utah Hockey Club until next draft.
But allegedly they've already picked the name.
Yeah, which I know the owner already leaked it and he said it was going to be Utah Yeti. He already said when he drafted the first guy, he goes, he's going to be Utah Yeti. And everybody was like, oh shit, did I screw up? Everybody does it. Everybody leaks it. The Kraken name got leaked. The Golden Knights name got leaked. Every time it gets leaked. So I believe it's going to be the Yeti.
It's not my favorite name, but it's not the worst one they came out with. So I wanted the Outlaws. I like that because Utah has a big history with the Wild West and being an outlaw territory. So I thought that would be great with American history, but I'm also kind of
Vegas wasn't allowed to do it. If Vegas can't do it, then you can't let Utah do it.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. That's fair to say.
It's a family league, right?
So let's jump back to the MLB. I kind of already said who I thought the MVPs of the leagues collectively would be: Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. Do you agree? Do you think it could be different?
No. If it wasn't for Bobby Witt Jr. being crazy batter, we'd be talking about a triple crown at Aaron Judge.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's been a great season to watch as a Yankees fan. It's been a great season to watch as a baseball fan. I think it's been exciting baseball this year. A lot of like high slugging percentages, huge home runs. It's been fun, but with that, there's also been some rock star pitching. And for me, we were talking about this a little earlier. I think it's going to be Skubal and Sale. I think they're the obvious front runners. And as you said, if Skubal and the Detroit Tigers make it into the playoffs, he's a lock.
Yeah, he's a lock. Because, unfortunately, it's like winning the MVP that you're not a quarterback. It doesn't really happen out of relievers. There's not many that have won. Doesn't mean there hasn't been one. There's just not that many.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened like anything else, but, the odds in that happening, it's like a running back getting MVP in the NFL these days. Very, very rare occasion nowadays. So
he'd have to be like a Madison Bumgarner kind of stat for him to be able to.
All right, and guys, we're about
going to be the one stat that will never be broken. Madison Bumgarner's World Series run. I don't think anybody's ever going to touch that ever.
I could agree to that. That's a pretty tough one. Mm-hmm. That's especially like in baseball. That was pretty historic stuff. So I could go with that. There's very few records that'll never get broken. That could be one of them. As we said, Gretzky. On the Olympic level, I don't know who's going to ever mess with Michael Phelps, but they got a lot of work ahead of them. I'll tell you what. But there are some records like that for sure. Just real quick, guys, if you are into sports gambling, I'd love to give you guys a shout out for my guy, the Black Bookie. We do the Sunday Snooze You Lose pick every week on We Like Sports. He does football. He does hockey. He does all sports, really. It just kind of depends on what's going that day. And you can also check him out at theblackbookie.com. And with that being said, now, if you're going to bet on one of his bets, you can go over to our buddy's website, mybookie.com, where you can use the sports with a Z promo code, and you can get matched for up to $1,000. So if you put $1,000 in for bets, you can get $1,000 back in credits, which obviously you can then go gamble and go crazy with. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple of our sponsors before we switch gears and jump to the NFL. So we could talk a little bit about week 3 and the craziness that we saw this week. My goodness. The NFL, you know what they say, any given Sunday. Now it's any given Thursday, sometimes Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and Monday for that matter. Right?
I need a white flag for your Raiders.
Oh my. Okay, so you know what? Before we jump to the actual questions, let's touch on that. So a lot of people have been saying that that Antonio Pierce, he was in the right place at the right time, but he's in over his head. I understand why they're saying that. I love his energy, and I do want to see him succeed. I get the whole in over his head thing. But here's what I think is a part of it too. And I said this before they even got the guy. But they kind of lost the opportunity. We were supposed to get Kingsbury, who is now in, right? He'd come to the Raiders. He was ready to sign. And then last minute, he turned around and he went to the Commanders, who I still call the Redskins, not going to lie. But, right, we saw them last night. We saw what that offense is doing. Whoa, what a difference, right? And so for me, I don't know that Antonio is not the right guy or that he can't get the fix. He's been calling in one of the greatest coaches, I think, ever, a top 20, top 10 to some people, Tom Coughlin, the 13th winningest coach in NFL history, who also has 2 Super Bowl titles over who many call the GOAT, Bill Belichick, as kind of a consultant to help him out. And I do think that helps, but I don't know how I feel about Getsy with our play calling at this point. The offense needs some serious changes. What do you think, Gove?
I think it's just that's what I was saying about West Coast offenses, right? A lot. You probably understand what I'm talking about. There's a lot of West Coast offense. There's way too many. It's way too predictable now.
Yeah, I mean that's what the league has become, and I liked when it was a running league and then the different passing schemes, mixing that stuff in kept people on their toes. But now everybody, you're right. The whole West Coast offense thing, it's good. It's great. But okay, so.
But everybody's using it pretty much in some form. Come on now.
And so, right. And so if everyone's using some version of a West Coast offense, this is a passers league now. How come there have been so many games to start this season with quarterbacks throwing 200 yards, 240, less than 300 yards? It's a passers league. I want to see 300 and 400 yards a game.
Yeah.
I kind of brought this up the other day because I feel like a couple of guys have done it this year, but for the most part, a lot of these guys have been almost every game. It's like 270. People are getting up there, but they're not breaking through 300-400 yards every game. And in a pass heavy league, I'm a little shocked. What do you think? Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy? You there?
Is it me or you that's losing connection?
I think I'm good. I'm not sure. Let's find out.
You're like a blender to me.
Hold on a second. Let me see.
Yeah.
You didn't know it's not my side. I got the live stream up on my phone. Yeah, so it must be on your side.
Oh, is it? It looks like I'm looking like I'm normal, but you were like real bad for a second. It's fine now.
It must be on your side. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I feel like quarterbacks as a whole have been underperforming pretty badly this season. Like the ones who are doing well, your Josh Allen, your Sam Darnold, are playing excellent. I guess Aaron Rodgers at this point, but overall, for a pass-heavy league, I feel like I'm just seeing a lot of really shitty quarterback play.
I'm not sure if there's a lot of shitty quarterback play. I think there's too many superstars in the league right now. Everybody wants to run that game hard. Like everybody wants the ball. Everybody wants to be tossed to. Everybody wants to show up. So I think it's more of a too much of a ego league with all the wide receivers because they're all chasing the bag.
Yeah, and that's where you get these guys like Brandon Ayuk getting these ridiculous contracts and just not performing.
Yeah, that's all they're looking for. They're looking for the bag. That's it. They're not looking at their skills. They're looking at the bag.
They get these contracts, a lot of these guys, and then what happens? Dak has just looked like trash since he got $60 million a year.
He got 60, and he's like, I don't got to perform anymore because I got my money.
Trevor Lawrence looks like he should be playing at a high school nearby.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's he's horrendous.
No, I don't want to insult your Giants like that, but Daniel Jones looked better, and he gets paid way less than Trevor Lawrence.
Well, and so this is the thing that everyone was saying kind of in New York, right? When that contract happened, it was like, oh my God, $40 million. But now we look at it and we're like, well, this is a bargain. We could owe this guy another $80 million, but thankfully we didn't sign him for that kind of money.
Daniel Jones finally showed up, though. He finally showed up. It might have been the Browns, but he finally showed up.
Well, so we lost because the defense kind of fell apart when we were in Washington, or Jaden decided he was going to perform, either or, right? But the offense looked good in Washington, and then the offense looked great. They looked like they were on all cylinders last week. So I don't know. Maybe we're in for a surprise. Maybe we're a team that can get back to 500. I don't know.
Well, the one notice I noticed with Daniel Jones, because I watch quarterbacks I watch him really good. He was instead of moving his feet too much, he was planting his feet and making the throw, which helps a lot better than shuffling your feet and throwing it.
Well, that's a fact. And then it's also the confidence that having a receiver like Malik Neighbors instills in you. They interviewed Malik after the game the other day, and he said, listen, that first touchdown, he said, Daniel said, I'm going to put it where you can get it. He said, but you got to go up and get it. This can't be an interception. It can't be. And he was like, all right, I'll go get it. That's it. And he went out and just got it. No questions asked. And when you know that you have a guy who, like, you're just like, listen, where you want the ball, I'll put it there. Can you get it? And he can be like, I'll go get that, And for me right now, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be incredible. But so far, the best receiver out of this new class is Malik Neighbors. I mean, he's just looked incredible, And I think that, LSU did a hell of a job, man. You got him and Jaden Daniels looking like superstars out there week in and week out. So very exciting. Now let's see here. We had a few different questions here for the NFL this week. Let me just get my phone open here. So Thursday night football game between the Cowboys and the Giants, right? Now, this obviously is an intriguing matchup for me. I'm a huge NFC East football fan. I watch every NFC East game, whether the Giants are in it or not. But really, like, what does this game come down to? And which one of these teams is more primed to take this crucial W out of this week?
Cowboys. Only reason I say that is everybody's expecting the Giants to fall. But if the Cowboys fall, it's way worse for the Cowboys organization.
Yeah, and listen, I agree. I mean, I think the Giants are primed to take a W out of this game. More importantly, I think that the expectations are just totally different. The Cowboys are expected to be a top-level team. The Giants are not. And so the Cowboys really need to go out there and win the game. Fingers crossed you don't. Let's go Giants. But, that's a pretty tough one for me. I feel like as a Giants fan, my expectations are huge.
Yeah.
But the reality is that most people have a pretty low expectation for them. So, I get it. And so now moving right on to this weekend, what are those games that you're most excited for? What two games in the NFC? Let's start with the NFC, right? Which one for the 1 o'clock and which one for the 4 o'clock? I think your time it's 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock, you said, right?
Yeah.
So what are your two NFC games?
I got to pull up because the NFL doesn't have the new schedule up yet.
I'm going to start out. I'm going to say that I believe New Orleans is playing Atlanta this weekend, NFC South matchup. Yeah. That's a big one. And I really want to see which one of those teams is or is not a fraud. And I think this is kind of a good week to get a little measuring stick on it. But
the Saints kind of showed that they fell off a little bit because they playing against the Eagles last week. They didn't look like the first 2 weeks of the Saints.
And that's why I think this is a big week. Can they return to week 1, week 2 form in week 4? Or do they drop the ball against a rival, an in-division rival? You know what I mean? And then the other one for me is another in-division or same division game, Minnesota and Green Bay. I expect Minnesota to sweep that team out. I expect them to bring it to them. But Green Bay has been very surprising since Willis has taken over at quarterback. What do you think about these games?
Yeah, the Vikings-Packers, because there's a rivalry there every time.
Big time.
No matter who's throwing. Vikings and Packers, you can never be like, if I'll use an example. If you're married, you meet a girl, all of a sudden you're a Vikings fan, she's a Packers fan, don't even just walk away. Just walk away. You're never – that's going to be a toxic relationship. There's no way that could ever happen.
Listen, I'll tell you, when I was in college, I dated a girl from Southie Boston, and for the World Series in 2004, was it? Yeah. I wore her Big Papi jersey, and she wore my Derek Jeter jersey. That was the only way we could do it. We got to show each other support, or we're going to end up breaking up, and we knew that. No joke. But you definitely don't want to meet them during the season because it's over with. Yeah, it's hilarious. And so what do you think about the AFC? What two games got you there?
I hate talking about the Chiefs as much as everybody loves talking about the Chiefs, but the Chiefs-Charger game is going to be interesting.
That's the first one on my list too. KC versus the Chargers.
And then we got the Bills-Ravens. Like, that's the only two I can really see as the go-to games.
Listen, you picked the exact same games as me. I think, Buffalo can continue the run and really put Baltimore in a bad place by taking that W this week. And I think I think it's a big statement game for them and their defense to shut those guys down. So I'm actually excited to watch that one. And then KC and the Chargers, again, that's another division rivalry. And the Chargers have looked like a decent football team this season. So, I'd like to see what kind of coaching schemes Harbaugh comes up with to kind of go against. It's really, that's what I want to see. Andy Reid against Harbaugh. I want to see the battle of the coaches. That's what I'm interested in that game.
Now, I'll segue this one. How do you feel about the double Monday nighters?
I don't really like it because I'm not going to watch, like when I watch a football game, I get so dialed in, I can't watch two at once. Yeah. I'm not that guy. I can't watch two football. I am singular in my focus and whatever I do. My ADHD will be everywhere. So no good for me. I don't love that at all. Definitely not a fan.
And especially the two Monday nighters this week, it's like, ugh.
What? It's Seattle, Detroit? Is that?
Seattle, Detroit, and Miami versus Titans.
Miami and well, I'll tell you what. I actually picked Seattle, Detroit as my game of the week.
Yeah.
I like that game. I think Detroit needs this win. I think Detroit needs to kind of shut people up because, a lot of people are just moving them down the list from their top 10. They went from the top 3 to top, maybe 7, 8, they just keep falling. They're not showing out. And I think Seattle has looked awesome. I'm also a West Virginia University guy. Shout out to my boy Geno Smith. I think he's doing a heck of a job. And I'm excited for that game a little bit. That's the one I'll be watching. I definitely will not be watching Will Levis play against Miami. Definitely
watch a third quarterback go down in Miami.
Oh my God. I don't know. I expect the Titans should be able to win that game. And they need to, but what is going on in Miami?
Yeah. Jesus. If a third quarterback goes down, oh my God.
What do you say about that O-line at that point?
It's the O-line. If a two quarterbacks went down with concussions in 2 consecutive weeks, that there's something wrong with his O-line.
And it's not even that team, I feel like they're supposed to be better, but you can't, you know what I mean? You can't have stuff like this. And what's going to happen? Let's just say they rebound and they start picking it up. And then in week 10, Tua is ready to play and they put him back in. What are the odds that he makes it from week 10 to week 18 without a second concussion?
The only wild thing is he's destined to come back week 8, and the team they're playing in week 8 is the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills.
Please wait till week 9. At least wait till week 9. Don't put him against the Bills in his return game.
And that's why I just threw week 10 out there, because I know they're saying week 8, but the reality is he really shouldn't be ready. This guy's had too many concussions where you're telling me 6 weeks is enough. I don't buy it. Just as somebody who's played sports, as somebody who's had a concussion, I don't buy it.
No.
I think it's a terrible decision.
No one's buying it.
It sucks, because I understand the guy's played football his whole life. He's a competitor. He wants to keep playing. But at a certain point, you just have to be wait a minute. I already got a lot of money. I've put a lot of years into my career. Maybe I can get into coaching or be an analyst or some other aspect of the game. But for you to be back there taking snaps, that's just ignorant. I don't buy it. To me, it just seems too dangerous. I hate the idea completely.
But the Miami organization, the photo that everybody's been talking about, just kind of sells what Miami's all about right now. The ass photo.
Yeah, that's a fact. How ass. I love those how asses this team
posts.
Not
even a little crack. It's the whole guy's entire ass. That's the photo we went with.
And so listen, here's actually, and so I'm going to skip question 4 for a second, because I think that this is a good segue to question 5. What if Miami went out and tried to sign Tom Brady? What are your thoughts on something like that? I mean, I don't love the idea of these guys. Like, I mean, you're in your 40s. Like, take it gracefully. Like, do other stuff. I don't like these guys coming back. I don't think Aaron Rodgers looks like an A1 quarterback at this point. 40 and above for me in the NFL, there's a hard line. I don't like it.
Oh my God. Segue, and I'll just put an acronym when I say G. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's at it again, and twice as worse.
Yeah?
Yeah. He just threatened somebody else. Again, I'm just seeing it in another chat.
Oh,
he's off his rocker again.
Listen, we'll talk later. You know who you are. We'll talk later. I'm going to text you, guy. Cut the crap. Do better. He knows who I'm talking to. Now, we're going to keep it on point here for a second. Now, like, what do you think? Where does Miami go? Like, how would you feel if they went out and contracted, a player who's, a quarterback who's retired in the last 3 to 5 seasons, and brought him in for the later half of the season? Do you like that idea? Do you,
I don't think he's allowed to, though, because he's part owner of the Raiders. I don't think he's allowed to, even if he wanted to.
Well, and so I think Tom specifically, I think he's out of the question because he's got contracts where he's now reporting on the league. He's got contracts where he's now got ownership in the league. He's just too tied to the league in financial ways for him to be competing in it. So I don't think he can. I think that he's ruled out. Who else could they go for?
Tannehill. Bring that bastard back.
I mean,
I know no one wants to see Tannehill again in Miami, but he's the only person that knows Miami. It's Ryan Tannehill.
And I think that's actually that's probably the best idea. Realistically, he knows the offense, right? He knows the guys.
What everybody wants. He knows what Miami wants and needs.
That's what I'm saying. And
Andy Dalton come back resurgent. Andy Dalton's got a resurgent. Donald's got a resurgent. Why not Tannehill?
I mean, Flacco did it last year, and at the end of the day, like, this is what we were talking about the other night. You see the way these guys, when some of these veteran QBs get a chance to go back in there and start, they come out and they look like they're trying to win a Super Bowl. They play their heart out, they go hard. Andy Dalton was ready to roll when he got to Las Vegas last week, and I think bringing a guy like Tannehill in at that point, I mean, it could be a good decision. I mean, they have to do something. Honestly, what about approaching the Panthers? They're in the AFC. The Panthers are in the NFC. Hey, Fifi, what if they approach the Panthers about a possible trade for Bryce Young?
I have no idea.
I mean, I think that, like, I don't think that Bryce is a wash. I think that the Panthers are a wash.
Yeah, Panthers are a wash. He's a small quarterback. He needs to be an assistant that works for him.
And I agree with that. And I kind of feel like just because of the background with where they both came from, him and Tua, that offensive scheme might suit him well. Now I could be wrong, but I do see the potential there. And I think that I'd like to see him go somewhere. I don't want to see him wash out of the league yet. I don't think it's right. I mean, we just saw, we see Justin Fields out there doing his thing that he's out of Chicago. Unfortunate for a guy like Caleb Williams. That team they don't really develop quarterbacks, but, it kind of is what it is at this point. So listen, you look like you're a little stressed out about the other thing that's going on there. It happens.
No. Football Fun Podcast was threatened. Like, where was that team ever been a problem? Yeah. Why?
Listen, I'm going to leave this stuff alone for right now, but you know what? Guys, we're about to come to the end of our show for this week. What we do want to touch on before we finish, top 3 players to watch right now in the NFL. Who are your guys?
Harrison Jr.
Okay.
Want to see what this kid does. Crazy. And it's going to seem biased because it's going to be Neighbors. I want to see what Neighbors can do. And the third one is I'm going to say this. Jaden Daniels has proved to me that he is the best out of this draft.
Listen, I've been telling people this since day one. I thought the Giants were going to go for him. I'm okay with getting Malik, but I knew I wanted both of them on my team. I'll be honest, because that's just such a connection. I wish they were 1 year apart in the draft because it could have been possible. But I think Jaden Daniels is an all-star. He's my first guy to watch week in and week out. He's my new favorite player in the NFL. I wish he wasn't on an in-division rival because that's tough for me. But I'm not going to root against him unless they're playing the Giants. I'll be honest. Malik Neighbors. Leak has just been great for us, and I think he's only going to get better. And then my third player is not a rookie. My third player is actually Sam Darnold. He's doing amazing things. He's lights out right now for the Vikings. Can he take this through the season? That's what I want to see. Does he need Justin Jefferson? What can he do to just keep this rolling? Because right now, the guy looks like, to me, the best quarterback in the game. And obviously, we understand it's a scheme. It's the players around him. There's a lot to it. But he's my third guy to watch for sure this week offensively.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I know a lot of people counted out Darnell, but I said before the season started when Darnell came in, I'm like, this is the right system for him.
It's fantastic. Listen, there's nothing more, as a man and as a football player growing up and as a fan of the NFL, there's nothing more I love than seeing somebody, who everyone doubted get it together and look this amazing. It's fantastic to watch him because for the last several years, I've been talking trash and this guy's the worst thing I've ever seen. To see him prove me wrong, to shut me up, and to show everybody that he's that solid. I love it. I think he's one of the best stories in football this year, and I'm super excited for him.
Did you see how CJ Stroud got humbled real quick? Last week he had his hand on, Caleb, and then this week Darnold had his hand on CJ.
Well, I mean, that game, honestly, for me, that was like, right? So they already took the 49ers out, and then people were like, are they really this good? And then they went into a younger physical team like Houston, and they just dominated them. Start to finish on both sides of the ball, they completely dominated them. I think Minnesota really showed that they are a threat to everyone in the NFC this season, not just their division. They are, to me, if you look at football right now, they have to be in your top three to be the NFC's representative this year because they just look that sharp.
Yeah.
And listen, guys, that's all I got for this week. I do want to give a shout out to our last sponsor of the day, Dubby. If you guys are in the gym getting your meathead on and you need a little pick-me-up, check out Dubby.com. You can get a 10% discount on all Dubby pre-workout products using the We Like Sports promo code, sports with the Z on the end. And again, thank you to my boy Cole for showing out today. It was a great chat, brother. And I will see you guys next week here on Vinny's Corner.